a grain of salt. You know, there's a saying, you know, taking something with a grain of salt, taking a statement that someone makes with a grain of salt, meaning you can accept it if you want to, but be forewarned, be wary of the possibility of it not being truth, for not being factual, for not being honest. One should take everything with a grain of salt. All facts, all statements made in fact, all statements made in truth must be taken with a grain of salt. That salt representing truth, representing the fact of the existence of ignorance, the fact of the existence of the truth that applies to each and everything. Everything. That grain of salt, that small grain of salt means that in all instances there should be some question of doubt to the validity, some question to the truth. Everything. That small piece. And you can even go smaller than that. You can imagine that one can shrink themselves, minimize themselves to the point where that grain of salt that I held in my hand, where it is of such a enormous size relative to the person being shrunk, that grain of salt could be cut into 1 trillion pieces. If that grain of salt was cut into 1 trillion pieces, and theoretically it's possible, it is possible. It may be beyond our technology, but theoretically it is possible to get so small that that grain of salt was so large that it could be then divided into 1 trillion pieces. So then you take 1 trillionth, one piece out of those trillions, you take that mass that exists, that grain of salt, and it is that much that one should always hold at all times. No matter how solid your belief, your faith, no matter how solid that truth is that is provided to you, there must always be the room, at least that room, for the possibility of the truth being counter to that which you have come to know, understand, understand as truth in all aspects of life. Everything. For the only one thing that one can be assured of is only truth itself. So outside of truth itself, when you're talking about the truth of things, one must hold that grain of salt.